Now, as promised, we go to Nick Turse. He's the author of the book The Complex, which I highly recommend, How the Military Invades Our Everyday Lives. And the new one is, I believe, Nick, you're the editor of this, is a compilation of articles by others, correct? The Case for Withdrawal from Afghanistan. Welcome to the show.
That's right, Scott. Thanks so much for having me back.
Well, I appreciate you joining us very much. And in question today is an article that you've written for Tom Dispatch, which, of course, also ran under Tom's name, or I think is running today under Tom Englehart's name at Antiwar.com. That can also be found at TomDispatch.com and has probably been reprinted all over the place. Tom Graham, Nick Turse, Base Desires in Afghanistan. So, your article begins basically reminding us that Barack Obama said that the beginning of the end of this war will be in July 2011. Just, 9 months from now?
That's right. That's what we've been told. But, what I lay out in the piece is that, no matter what President Obama says about a 2011 drawdown, I advise people to look to the bases in Afghanistan. It's been a building boom there for the last 2 years, and there seems to be no end in sight. There's solicitations for bids for base building and base expansions that are appearing all the time. And these new facilities won't be built until, at least late next year at the earliest. That's beyond the date where the drawdown is supposed to begin.
Yeah, but how is Burger King supposed to turn a profit if we are not expanding the bases in Afghanistan?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, you see we've got these big multi-million-dollar contracts there. The Pentagon is definitely digging in. They're not pulling out.
Well, now, let me ask you this. I mean, the Pentagon is basically just a big government bureaucracy, and of course, every branch of the Air Force or the Army, Marines, or whatever have their close friends in industry that, they have relationships with, their contractors that get things done for them, and they want to help them make money. But couldn't it be that Barack Obama really does mean to get us out of there, that the Pentagon knows it, and they're just trying to, make as much money for their friends as they can, building bases that then will turn around and leave? Look what happened in Iraq. They built 58 bases, and Bush said, I want 58 bases. And Nouri al-Maliki told him, no, man, you can't have them.
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. You're dealing, however, in Afghanistan with, I think, a more pliable client who's not, in Iraq right now, it looks like Muqtada Sadr been a major beneficiary of the U.S. invasion, and because of that, Iran. So, more than anything, I think those forces are pulling the strings there. Now, with Karzai, you have a much more dependent client government who I think will extend the U.S. military any courtesy that it asks for the foreseeable future. He is only the mayor of Kabul, as they say. It's one thing with these bases. The military does build and disassemble bases all the time. There's a lot of small bases. They call them COPs, or combat outposts, out there. So there's a lot being built and disassembled. They move around all the time. But a lot of these bases, I mean, they have the look of permanency. And then when you look back on history and see the bases that are still in Germany and Japan and Korea, it definitely has to give you pause.
Yeah, certainly. Well, you're right that to point out that in Iraq, basically we fought a war for people who don't need us in order to maintain their power. Muqtada al-Sadr, as you say, he's got the run of the place. He's got the most popular support among any leader, among the majority that we helped make sure that they won the Civil War and took the capital city for themselves and all that. Here in Afghanistan, we're fighting on the side of the Northern Alliance, the guys who were the puppet Vichy Quislings of the Soviet Union, who've been losing a civil war for 30 years and could never win it. And so I guess the excuse to stay is there. We can't just let the Taliban win. They could say that for the next 30 years, huh? Well,
I mean, it sure looks like at the moment that the but the military is playing for time. This is just speculation on my part, but one thing that's definitely not speculation is you could see that Petraeus is trying to, at least push this mission down the road past the 2012 presidential election, and you could guess that maybe he's hoping for a change of presidents with someone who's more amenable to not even having drawdown dates, no matter how useless they might be. And just recently, Petraeus was interviewed by Martha Raddatz of ABC News, and she asked him. He kept saying, just now are we getting, all the, he calls them the inputs just right. He said, right now we finally have everything in place. So, a decade in, it's as if we're just starting. And Raddatz asked him, are you saying that we're restarting the counterinsurgency clock, that this could take another 9 or 10 years? And the first word out of Petraeus' mouth was, yeah. So it's obvious that he's looking long term, and he's looking to dig in, whatever they're saying in Washington.
That's funny because, just over the last week, we've had a few interviews where, Kelly Vlahos and Gareth Porter, I think they both said that their understanding was that in Washington, D.C., everybody's over the counterinsurgency strategy. Everybody recognized that, no, you don't eat soup with a knife, dummy, and this isn't going to work, and that the American people are not going to accept a decades-long attempt to turn Afghanistan into some Western European nation state. And so, I just wonder, at the same time everybody's over this counterinsurgency doctrine in the Capitol, apparently you're telling me that it seems like Petraeus is at least trying to spin it as though we're just getting started. Never mind the last 10 years. Now the real saving of the war by Petraeus is to begin only here wrapping up 2010.
Yeah, Petraeus uses even the term counterinsurgency in different ways for different audiences. I think Gareth and others are they're right on track, saying that what's being fought there now is not classic counterinsurgency. Over the last month or so, what we've seen are a lot more airstrikes, a lot more night raids by special ops forces. They're putting a lot more firepower out there than
yeah. It doesn't sound like the coin doctrine to me. I actually read that stupid thing. All right, hold it right there, buddy. It's Nick Turse. He's got a new piece at Tom Dispatch and a new book called The Case for Withdrawal from Afghanistan. We'll be right back. All right, y'all, welcome back to the show. It's Antiwar Radio. I'm Scott Horton. I'm talking with Nick Turse. He's the author of the book, The Complex, and the editor of the book, The Case for Withdrawal from Afghanistan. Now, we're talking about the counterinsurgency strategy there as it pertains to staying forever and also the abandoning of it. This is something we were talking about with Kelly Vlahos the other day about how this is looking much more like the Nixon doctrine of, let's just bomb the hell out of them and then bring them to the table. The counterinsurgency is over. So, I don't know. Is General Petraeus just insubordinate here, or is Barack Obama only pretending like he wants to begin getting out in 2011 anyway? Nick, what do you think?
Well, I was talking to Seymour Hersh actually last night, and what he said, and I think he's right about this, is that Obama has really abdicated his commander-in-chief responsibility to a great extent when it comes to the war in Afghanistan. He's pushed it off on his generals, so Petraeus is calling the shots, and he has this vague timeline in place, but all the rumbles that you hear coming out of the civilians at the Pentagon and from the military brass are that they're looking down the road that yes they'll accept that there's